Lesson 2. We're learning to walk a little bit, this time with some linking verbs. We're picking back up where we left off a little bit. And linking verbs, they just kind of link your subject, which we know is in the nominative case, to either an adjective, a pronoun, or another noun. So he is strong. Is would be our linking verb. A man was called Heriolf. Was called, that's a linking verb. He became a werewolf. Became is our linking verb. It's linking the subject, a man, to our object, in this case a noun, werewolf. So these are what the linking verbs are in Old Norse. We have, I don't know, it's kind of small. Hold on, 1 second. Let me put this thing up in here. All right, those are the linking verbs. Then after that, we have some examples of how they are used in a sentence. And when they are used, okay, so linking nouns, they link the subject of the sentence to the object, right? That's what they do. And that object we call a predicate noun. So just some quick examples would be like Leifur sonur Eiríks. Leif is the son of Eric. Hon var dóttir Ingolfs. She was a daughter of Ingolf. Maðurinn hét Ingolfur. The man was called Ingolf. And Haraldur varð konungur Noregs. King Harold, or Harold became king of Norway. Some predicate adjectives would be like Bjarni var evnilegur. Bjarni was promising. Barnið lítið, the child is little. Thor sterker. Thor is strong. And some other examples would be like when action verbs take direct objects in the accusative. It's kind of similar. Ingolfur gav Herjolf land. Ingolf gave land to Herjolf. Or even Herjolfur nam Herjolfs fjord. Herjolf took Herjolf's fjord. And after that, we have some cultural stuff. Alright, cool. Then we get into these. It's another grammar toolbox. This time it's about adjectives. Adjectives are great. They're super great. It gives us plenty of beautiful detail. Helps create images in our minds. Adjectives. Good stuff. Alright, actually he gives us an example. In the sentence, Gormur sonur Hórða Knut var mikil maður og sterkur. Gorm, the son of Hórða Knut, was a strong and big man. So big is mikil and sterkur is strong. And these both, now they both describe man, and the reason we know that is because, except for mikil, is because they end in an R, or they have that nominative case. So we know that they're describing Gormur and not Hórða Knut. If you want to describe Hórða Knut, then you'd say mikils and sterks, because they're both in the genitive. That way we would know we're describing Hórða instead of Gorm. Alright. Most Old Norse adjectives have two sets of forms. One is strong, one is weak. Kind of like verbs, but not really. They just take different endings this time instead of like a full-on root change like strong verbs do. Now adjectives will take a strong ending unless they're preceded by a definite article. And preceded just means that unless an article comes before it. So the. Like in English, the strong man, right? If you say in Old Norse, in sterki maður, the strong man. Adjectives are going to take their weak ending when they come adjectives are going to take their weak ending when a definite article, so the, or a demonstrative pronoun. I don't know if you say it as demonstrative or not. I've heard both ways, demonstrative and demonstrative. Pretty sure I made that point in the previous video, but I don't remember. Or other kind of determinant. And determinant just means something that determines what it is, like a pronoun, like that, this, or an article, or maybe a numeral. I kind of forgot. Oh. So that's when they take weak endings. strong adjectives will take their endings, you know, in every other instance. So I guess an example for weak adjectives would be like, I sterki maður, the strong man. The is before strong. And so now it'd be weak. But if you were to say, maðurinn sterkur, the man is strong. Of course, is no longer in the sentence because you can omit verbs. You know, if the verb is assumed, you can take it out in Old Norse, so we don't have to say the man is strong. You can just say the man's strong. It's nice. Makes it easier to get words out. All right, and that would be an instance of a strong adjective. Okay, most Old Norse adjectives, like in English, have comparative and superlative forms. Comparative is comparing. Superlative is fancy for like the worstest. Of course, it's not a word. We say worst, or the best, or the cleanest, or the dirtiest. Those are all superlatives. They're like, you know, they're like the worst thing ever, or the best thing ever. Something like that. It's superlative. All right, that's basically it. That's all I have for this little toolbox anyway on adjectives, just general things. Nouns also can be strong or weak. So a strong will have a lot more endings to it, a little bit more complicated endings and not always guaranteed endings, while weak, thankfully, is a little bit more, it's a little easier. It's actually a lot a bit easier and a little bit more, why did I just forget the word? It's a little bit more, it's a little bit more normalized. So an example would actually be like these strong nouns here. We have hester, run, and kumbel. Hester is our masculine, run is feminine, and kumbel is our neuter noun. So for our masculine, we have in the nominative, actually, I'm going to write this out for you guys. Hold on. So you have our nouns, right? Hester, run, kumbel. Hester, I'm going to go ahead and just write this out and talk with you guys a little bit about it. Let me see. Get up, probably right over here, I guess. So we have our word, this is our stem right here, hest, and we're going to put it down each time. Okay, and then with our stems, we put on our endings, right? In the nominative, we have an R usually. We usually have an R. Accusative usually doesn't have anything in it. Then dative is going to have our I, and genitive is usually going to be an S. Those are not set in stone necessarily. The R is set in stone, but not the I and the S, and sometimes even the accusative. At least, from what I remember, at least in the plural anyway. All right, then we have our feminine nouns. So we have brun, and put those down each time. Sorry about my terrible handwriting. I'm starting to learn how to write on the board now. So with our feminine, sometimes there can be an I here in our dative. Usually we won't find that. Our genitive is usually going to have an AR instead of an S. And for our neuter nouns, I don't know. I guess we could use kumbel. It's kind of a big word, but it's whatever. So kumbel, and we have that again, and again, and again. Okay. With these, we have our I here in the dative, which I believe is pretty normalized, and then an S in the genitive, which is the same as our masculine, which is pretty common. Okay, and then the plurals Let me do this actually. Okay, our red, those are singulars. Then we'll put in blue what the plurals would be. So we have hästar. Then we have, again, we have hästa. Notice the R just kind of drops off. Our dative plural is always um, so that's going to be the whole way, whole way for plural. And then our genitive is always an A, also that's going to be the whole way an A. Now the other ones, we would have AR, just like the masculine, but also AR in the accusative, unlike the masculine. Though it is quite common, or pretty similar, right? Just add an extra R, or you can remember that it's the same as the nominative, so that really helps me a lot. And then for here, we're gonna put this O with a tail. That doesn't mean that it's added on at the end. It means that U umlaut happens to our stem here. So if you had, well, okay, well, that means, so you had, okay, so you had the word lång, right? Now when you make it plural, nominative or accusative, not dative or genitive, it changes to lånd, right there, lånd. So that's what happens with the plural. Unfortunately, Kumbel doesn't show that because it's already a U, and you can't U umlaut a U. Alright, those are our strong nouns. Then let me erase this stuff. And then let me erase this stuff, and I'll show you guys what the weak nouns look like. Okay, so for weak nouns, he gave us gode, tunga, and auga. So we have, oops. So we have our stems, which are gold, all the way down. Okay. These are super basic endings, thankfully. So in the nominative, we have an I, goli, and then everything else after that is an A. I mean, that is super simple compared to all the other things you have to memorize. And thankfully it also carries over to our feminine and our neuter. So feminine, we have our root tung. And the endings added on to this. First we start off with an A, much like how we start off with an I over here in the nominative, or even the A's over here. And then after that, it's a U the whole way through, which is incredible, just a U. Now the nominative for, now the endings for the neuter are even simpler than these things. So we have our root, aug, that's a terrible U. Okay, and the endings for this, the whole way through, well, I think you guys could probably guess, if there's only 2 unique endings for each of these, and it's even simpler than that, then it has to be 1. And indeed it is. It is an A the whole way through. So no matter what, if it's an I, it's nominative, accusative, dative, or genitive, it's always auga. There's always an A at the end. Always. Now, if you were to do plural, it only gets slightly more complicated, but not too much, because thankfully, they're practically the same as the strong nouns. So we have grali, but now it becomes golar, and then we have gola, much like our strong nouns. And then dative plural the whole way, it's always un. So that goes here and here. Now the genitive switches a little bit. All right, yes it does. The genitive switches a little bit. We still have our a here, but now our genitive plural for our feminine and our neuter have changed to na. So now we have tungna and augna. And then for our nominative accusative, we have you are, kind of like the AR, but this time it's a U. That's because of U umlaut. And then over here, we have a U for these. So still pretty similar, not super complicated, just AR, then an A, then UM and A, which is recognizable. UM, dative plural, it's always the case. Adjectives, nouns, whatever it is, always the case. AR becomes UR, and then we have U's over here instead of UM. So that's nice. Okay, I hope that demonstration helped a little bit so you could see the nouns and how they work, and just get a little bit of a paradigm chart. After these nouns, then we move on to prepositions in Old Norse. Okay, prepositions will take their object in one of three cases: accusative, dative, or genitive. And some of them have more than one case that they take their object in. Okay, the ones that govern two cases, or the ones that take their object in two cases, are either going to be accusative or dative, or they're going to be accusative or genitive. And those are the ones that have two. That have two when they govern cases. For prepositions that take their object in the accusative always are gegnum and from, through and beyond or more than. Our dative prepositions are av, at, fra, hja, moti, när, or in older texts, ur, or even older, ur. So it went from a Y, a long Y, to a U, to an O. Then we have undon. And those, what they mean are of, out of, from, towards, against, at, to, from, about, by, near, with, together with, against, contrary to, toward. Then we have near, from under, from beneath, near to. And then some genitive prepositions would be things like meðal, milli, and til. Among, between, or to. Gives us a little bit of an exercise here. Okay, so if I say þær komu of, and the noun is skip, so we want skip to come after of, which is a preposition. So of means of, out of, from, and remember it's one of our dative prepositions. So because it's one of our dative prepositions, we would add on that vowel, which is something, which I'll let you answer in the comments. The second one is han fra, and then we want to say Jorland. So he came from, or he is from, or he's about. Now we don't say about because that doesn't really make any sense. We'd say he is from. He is from Jorland. But fra takes its object also in the dative. So we'd want to figure out, okay, so Jorland. Well, it's a compound word, sure, but land is a neuter noun. So we know that its dative would be similar to skip, or even the same. I'll let you know, it is the same. All right, then we have þær sigla gegnum. And then we want to say fjordrin, the fjord. And gegnum takes its takes its object in the accusative. So we'd want to make sure that's in the accusative. In Góður, bjur, hja, our noun is herjovur. So now we'd want to take that and put hja, which takes its object in the dative. So we'd want to change herjovur to its dative form. Skip sigler moti. Winder. That's our noun. Winder. After moti. Moti also takes its object in the dative. Konungur for till. Then we want to say Holmgarder. Till takes its object in the genitive. Okay. After that, we have another vocabulary list. So we have mal, soner, hond, speech, case or matter, son, hand. Then we have our adjectives, litil, iller, soner, right there. Little, bad, ill, and true. Then I have our pronouns, ek, thu, I, you. Our numeral, twer, two. Our verbs, komma, fara, and monu. To come, to go, or to travel, usually to travel for fara, and then munu, will or shall. Then our prepositions and adverbs, we have tha, thar, Tha is than, thar is there, and is about or around. And our conjunction is ein. But, or when you're contrasting something, and. Alright, and after that, we're on to exercises. Sweet. I'll see you guys next time doing some exercises. With me, hopefully. Or maybe you already have this book, and then you just skip ahead. It's like, I'm not waiting for the next video. I'm going to do this right now. Good on you. Alright. I'll see you guys later. Thank you for watching.